Hello and welcome to another chapter of the Tao Te Ching. Today we are looking at chapter 60, Combating Evil. We have run across a number of verses recently within the last 10 or so that kind of really start off with this idea, and this one is one of them. And this one starts out, when governing anything, use restraint. When overseeing anything, I think was in one of the last ones we did. And when this idea of anything has come in, right? When governing, when overseeing, when looking after, like anything. And this really points, like this opening line reminds us that it's not just about interacting with other people. It's about interacting with animals and plant life and anything, space, time, ourselves, our body, our hand. We govern our hands, right? So when governing anything, use restraint. So this is what I just want to kind of step back and point at, like, when we say anything, it means anything. Even your ideas. When governing your ideas, use restraint. Right? That's what this one starts with. When governing anything, use restraint. So you can apply that to anything. So wherever you are in your life, if there's anything that you're governing, you govern so much. You govern how much water you use when you wash the dishes, take a bath or a shower. You govern your schedule. You may govern other people. You may govern their schedules. But while governing anything, so this is how it reads, while governing anything, use restraint. Treat it like cooking a small bit of fish. Getting it perfect takes less than you think. Centering all things in Tao, evil, with nothing to oppose, returns to a state of illusion. All harm dissipates in the face of those who know their true selves. This may seem disparate at first, right? All harm dissipates in the face of those who know their true selves. What does that have to do with centering all things in Tao? Evil with nothing to oppose returns to a state of illusion. What does that mean, especially related to the first lines? While governing anything, use restraint. Then this metaphor about treat it like a small bit of fish, getting it perfect takes less than you think. Well, I want to start by saying, with evil with nothing to oppose, kind of right in the middle of this verse, evil with nothing to oppose returns to a state of illusion. Resistance is an interesting thing in our lives. When we resist something, we push against it. And I do this, I explore this with some of my clients sometimes. It's put your hand up, and I put my hand and I just push a little bit. And as soon as I push a little bit, they don't often yield. They often push back. And that's exactly what definitions and evil or bad things, or anytime we have a desire, what we're doing is resisting what is and wanting something else, resisting what is and wanting. And then all we find ourselves doing is staying in this middle ground, pushing up against something that's pushing back to us. The more we push on something, the more it's resisting being pushed. So why push it? While governing anything, use restraint. That's where we come in now. Use restraint. Don't use force. Don't use resistance. Use restraint. Yield. And then they have this thing, treat it like cooking a small bit of fish. Getting it perfect takes less than you think. If you've ever cooked, I don't know. I cook all the time. But if you take a small bit of fish and you put it in, it's almost immediately done. And you don't have to do anything. You might have to turn it once and then take it off. But it's very often that if you think it's going to take a lot, I need to control it. I need to control it. No. The fire and the fish, they're going to work together, and it's going to be delicious. You just have to use restraint. Use restraint as to how hot you have it. Use restraint to how, how much you poke around in it. Use restraint, just like raising a child. Okay, if we're going to treat it like raising a child, the child's going to be fine. You can send them to school, you can homeschool them, you can do whatever you want. But the more you interfere with them, the more they have to break out of your influence. And that's so much of what we talk about with the Recover Yourself work is like, do you want to be an influence on your child that they're having to, strip away in their 30s? Or do you want to just let them be who they are? So if they move around a lot, try and get them into dance, music, or other things, rather than trying to say, oh, you got ADHD. Work it out. They got enough energy. They can do something with it. All right. You want to support them. You don't want to medicate them. You don't want to tell them they can't be who they are. You're governing this. Use restraint. Let them be who they are and support them in that. Centering all things in Tao, all things meaning everything that you're governing, center that in Tao. And then the things that you think are going to go wrong here, you realize that those are the things you think you're afraid of happening in your life. And that's your bullshit. That's the evil that you're carrying to this. That's not their problem. They're going to excel at doing what they do, and your fears, if you address them, will center you. So you center your governing, center yourself, center everything on Tao and evil with nothing to oppose. Now, you aren't pushing up against it anymore, and boom, it dissipates. Why does it dissipate? Because it's looking for opposition. It's looking for that push so that it can affect you. But just like martial arts, when you get out of the way and let their energy use that, you can let it pass you by. It's not something that you have to address. You have to address your creation of it. But when you let it go and you see that it's not evil at all, it's not a problem at all of a sudden you get to experience truth. And it's like, oh, I don't have to be afraid of that. And so this end, all harm, I don't have to be afraid, right, dissipates in the face of those who know their true selves. When you recognize, I'm bringing this evil with me in my mind and my thoughts and my fears, all of these things. When you realize that you don't have to oppose that, you can say, oh, look, you're doing something that I wouldn't do. I don't have to freak out. Let me look at why I wouldn't do that thing. Now I know more of myself. All harm dissipates to those who know their true selves. This is how we move forward. This is how we grow. This is how we do the work, whatever it is. All right. Well, that was number 60, Combating Evil. We got 21 more to go. I appreciate you joining me on this journey of learning and talking about the Tao. Please consider subscribing or doing whatever you want. You can take notes or leave messages and other things like that. I don't always see them, but if I do, it's always nice. All right. I'll talk to you later. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.